Well, today I would like to explain and clarify certain issues pertaining to the Agneepath, the scheme which has been newly introduced by the government. As far as Agneepath goes, the scheme goes that the young boys in the age of 17 and a half to 23 years, earlier it was 21 years, now after the agitations, it's been increased to 23 years. They'll be enrolled, both girls and boys, will be enrolled in the ranks, other ranks, not officers or JCOs, other ranks, and they'll be kept, they'll serve for 4 years. They'll draw the pay for 30,000 rupees initially to start with, and after 4 years, it will go up to 40,000 rupees. Out of this pay, 30% of the pay and equivalent amount by the government will be saved as a provident fund. So whenever, as and when they leave after 4 years, they are given a package approximately about 11 lakhs. Out of all these, 25% they will be absorbed as permanent in the army. Rest of them, they'll be issued a certificate, and along with the 11 lakh rupees, they'll be sent back. Well, the government has now trying to reserve about 10% of vacancies in other paramilitary forces, including Assam Rifles. But that is very, very minuscule. The point is that this is being done, and during this tenure of 4 years, they won't be entitled to any canteen facilities, any ECHS or any health facilities like military hospital, and they won't be entitled to pension. That's the main thing. Now, without anything, after 4 years, in case they are not absorbed, probably where are they going to go? I'll discuss a little later, but let me tell you why this scheme is going to be introduced. The government's plea is that we want to keep the army young. And mind you, this scheme is also applicable to Army, Air Force and Navy, all three armed forces, not only Army. They say that we want to keep the average age to 22, which is presently 32 years of age. Now they want to keep the army young. They would like to save the revenue by not giving them pensions subsequently and use them, and thereafter it will become like a conscripts, which we have the foreign countries. Some of the countries are enrolling the conscripts for 2 years, some of the countries 1 year. There are various, even right from US to USSR. I would like to give example, certain drawbacks. The first and foremost drawback, as applicable to India, our country, is that for the past 3 years almost, because of the COVID, there has been no enrollment and recruitment in the Army, Air Force and Navy. Now, some of those boys had given the test, they had passed the test, they had become eligible to join the armed forces. But unfortunately, with introduction of the scheme, everything has been cancelled. That is why you find the agitation going on all over. More so, we can't apply that same rule what is applicable to the foreign countries. What is happening there in foreign countries? Our systems are different. The boys come from rural area mainly, and they're totally dependent. They can't become DCs and IPS officers and IS officers, or they can't get hold of a white-collar job in the private sector. They are totally dependent because their grandfather, their fathers in generations, they have served in army, and they prefer serving in army, which is considered a very secure job within the rural area. That is our mainstream. Now with this, anything which is made applicable or introduced There is a ways and means. It is definitely introduced, discussed in the parliament. Thereafter, a pilot project is launched and see the validation, whether the scheme is okay, workable in our environments as far as Indian Army is concerned or Air Force or Navy is concerned. Well, by introducing this and not giving a trial, I think it's going to have drawbacks. The drawbacks which I envisage are, one, you've seen the Ukraine war going on. The Russians conscripts with a total service of 2 years in a one section, which is the lowest form of the fighting force, consists of 10 men. Out of 10, they had 6 conscripts and 4 were the regular. And they all ran away, the conscripts, which we now call Agneeveers, the forthcoming. We are going to train them. What are we going to do? The enemies are at our gate. We are not a landlocked countries like other France or something, some other countries which can. China is sitting there. We recently had a brawl in Galwan Ghati, and there was a fight with the Chinese. We have Pakistan sitting. After the major drawback which I foresee is that after 4 years, in case they are not absorbed, either they are going to become security guards, though the corporate houses say that we will try to absorb them, or they're going to become gangsters. They have no other option. Either they join a gang or they become a gang leader. And the worst of all, my fear is that Pakistan's ISI is going to have an eye, a very evil eye on such people. They're waiting for such an opportunity where a Jawan or where a Agneeveer who's exposed to the armed forces, who's got the knowledge of the units, he may be become a potential spy. Or he's used as an anti-national element. So either they become anti-social or they become anti-national elements. Do you want to now again see along our border, it is now becoming difficult for us to control Kashmir, and you want to create another problem of our border areas of Rajasthan and Punjab? If we want to bring back that terrorism again, they'll start supplying the weapons by the drone, and they've got a trained lot sitting there who's ready, pay them anything, and they'll be ready and trained for 4 years. A minimum training is required in 9 months, which is generally taken for the infantry. Armed Corps, I was talking to Armed Corps officer. For the tank, they to parade because tank has got everything. He needs to be a driver, he needs to be a radio operator, he needs to be technical, he needs to be everything. For that, it takes a year and a half before he joins his regiment. What happens after 4 years? Agneeveer, will he be trained to join this? We got technical missiles, we got BrahMos, we got things. I don't think so within 4 years they'll be playing that role and be able to do that technology and learn everything. Although they may be IT qualified or whatever it is. I feel even this scheme, in case it was to be introduced, the normal recruitment should have carried out. Have the recruitment done, has this scheme keep running, and then see the efficacy of the scheme. And then introduce it, and those 25%, you reduce that number of 25% in the intake on the normal recruitment, and you absorb them from the Agneeveers. That could be another solution. But not exclusively that you start this and you ban everything else. I have this much, and I think so I have covered. Thank you, and Jai Hind.